money sucks.
Can I talk to you on that point? Can I agree with you for a minute?
Yeah.
And that is that anytime anybody says we're going to give you a royalty payment and here's our estimates for how much money you're going to make, get them to give you a percentage of that money. And if they say no, then tell them that their projections were bullshit. If they believe in this, they will come around and they will give you a portion of that money. And if they don't, you don't want to work with them anyway.
Yeah, marketing support is big. Don't rely on Steam or Apple to give you marketing support. You know, this marketing support he got from Steam, again, very lucky. Most, not talented, lucky. No, it's a good game. You can't count on that to come through, right? And so, like, whoever you're partnering with, like, distribution and marketing support should be a big part of what you're talking about. Right now, we're trying to get Go Home Dinosaurs out in early, well, we're going to be getting it out soon. And one of the things we've been talking about internally is, like, if we have to choose between getting more eyeballs and getting more money, what's more valuable to us? And at least in the short term, more eyeballs is worth more. And we're talking about how, like, getting more users could be worth more than the money.
Okay, so maybe a couple of tips on how to get marketing support. So, like, for Steam especially, the way that I like to do it, and maybe we don't have to do it the same way anymore, but if I were to go into it from the beginning, number one, if I wanted to target Steam, I would talk to all of the press as much as I could and get the press to write up about us, right? And I would put everything up on a page. Alex, you've heard me say this about 17,000 times. Put all the stories on a single page, right? And you get all this great press. And then you send that to Steam, to Valve, because publishers, at least Valve and Apple, don't care to go through and play your entire game. They don't want to read 15 paragraphs of your text about how awesome the procedurally generated world is. They want to see that RPS gave it a thumbs up. They want to see that Kotaku's written about it 3 times.
Valve is basically overworked and doesn't have time to get through your stuff. And in fact, everyone in life that you will deal with is the same way. They all have too much on their plate. They can't deal with your stuff. So you better have a really punchy thing up front. Apple really doesn't care about your stuff. Like, they really don't care. I mean, you can talk more about that, right? Like, they don't recognize quality when they see it necessarily.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I think they've
been
pretty warm.
What? Sorry?
They were pretty warm. I think they're pretty warm. I mean, that's in part because they had, so we did Off for the Awesome with, you know, Alex of Alchemy Games. And they have reached out to us and said, look, keep us informed of your latest stuff. And I suspect if you, go over to Touch Arcade, you go to, 148 apps and so forth, and you get your name in the press, Apple is going to pay attention to you.
Yep. Let's move on because we don't have much time.
Yeah, final point.
Yes, final point. What are the things that you are most worried about? What keeps you awake at night? And what things you're like, you know what, we got this?
Money. Where's the money coming from?
Oh, yeah.
We do, so I don't know if we do this differently than you, but our income always looks like, sorry, is it this? No, sale, right? This. So we could get like $12 in a month, and the next month we'll get $50 billion, and this is really nerve-wracking. I mean, it is awesome, but I think indie studios are especially susceptible to this, doubly so, triply so, if you're just starting out and if you only have a couple of titles under your belt.
Yeah, money's one of the most scary things out there, and I would say that, like, you should be trying to build up a cushion in the bank so you can pay yourself for a couple months out. And if you have less than, say, 3 months in the bank, you should be panicking and going crazy. If you have less than 6 months in the bank, you should be very, very worried. If you have more than 6 months, you might be okay for the next 5 minutes. No, it's really scary. So yeah, money's a big thing. We don't have those sales spikes because we do lots of contract working with publishers, so our income is more steady and we can project out when we think it's going to come and when it's not going to come. But more recently, we're trying to grow a little bit, and we're trying to do more of our own games because saying that we do 40% of our own games is not very appealing for an indie studio. And so we're trying to kind of bump that up, and with that comes a lot more risk. So that's something we're worried about. The hiring thing is scary. So people at Firehose like working with other smart people. Like, when you have really, really good people, that's a huge motivator to go to work and hang out, and it's fun to work with them. And so finding those people is tough, and it costs money, and if you want to grow, that's tricky also. And so we're kind of making an assumption that we'll be able to find enough work and enough things to do and enough funding, either through contract stuff or our own game selling, that we'll be able to support that, and that's a little bit scary because we're trying to grow the company a little bit, but that could wind up being a bad move.
So how does a small indie studio mitigate those
Take on a project that will earn you money sooner, rather than betting it all on a game and hoping that it's going to do well. I know that's like not necessarily the right thing to do at all times. I mean, I don't know.
I think that's.
If you have a game,
I agree with you. And
stop it.
And I see indies fucking that up all the time. How much time do we have left? Are we almost done?
You good.
Yeah.
You can wrap this plan up.
Oh, okay.
Take time.
That's good.
Yeah. Another. So.
Well, here's another thing, transitioning to different roles in indie studio. For umpteen years, I had been a programmer, right? I was responsible for doing the, most of the programming for most of my games. And then I said, well, let's not do that. So transitioning into somebody who spends 4 hours in a day signing legal paperwork and spends, 12 hours a day doing design work and then another 8 hours a day. You are the popular one, my friend. Is really interesting. So what mitigates that is actually talking to people like Eitan who are taking on different roles, and I think that's what's great about Boston Indies is that we're all here.
Yeah, another thing that actually is like a concern as of recently, at least at Firehose, I think is like stress level overall. It's really easy when you're an indie to just be like, well, I just need to work 16 hours a day. 8 days a week for like the next year and it'll be fine, right?
Have you solved it?
No.
I get like acid reflux.
We're trying to spend more. We're trying to figure that out more, and like, I don't know what the silver bullet is, but we've been working fewer hours at Firehose than we have been before. I don't want to like follow that up with, well, we've definitely been more productive, because I don't actually know that that's true. But at the same time, like, you can only work so long as like a crazy person before burning out and being dead. And like when you burn, who here's burned out before? Like, you burn out hard. It's brutal when you burn out. Like burning out can be like the next 6 months I'm gonna go to, like my first video game job, I burnt out and I went to Africa and walked around in the desert for a month. I'm not even kidding. That actually happened. And like I don't know. And so we're trying to figure out like what's more, I guess, sustainable in terms of development.
How about a 40-hour work week?
I saw Ethan burn out really hard one time.
It's totally like, I mean, you guys all know what it's like, and the worst thing is, like, when you burn out on someone else's project, it's like, well, fuck those guys. They fucked me over, screw them. But when you burn out on your own project, it's just like depressing. It's like, you can't blame anyone, and all the blame goes on yourself, and you're just like, what happened, what? And like, you're like sitting there and analyzing what went wrong, and so we're trying to figure that out, and I think we're like moving in that direction, but I don't know. But we're being conscious about it, and we're trying to, not be as crazy about it.
I think that's good. Any questions? Questions? Yes, sir?
You mentioned how indies will often fuck up the how to balance the funding versus the independent project, and I wanted to hear, if not examples, at least elaboration on ways to fuck that up.
Okay, well, people shoot, like, I will see people, this doesn't happen as much now, but indies right out of school will want to do their first multiplayer online game, that MMORPG, because Warcraft looks really easy, right? So they will do that. Or they'll do something and they won't get the right talent for it. We'll get a bunch of programmers together and they'll put this thing together and it will look like shit.
Yeah, I want to elaborate on that. So like, not being aware, so like one of the biggest things in my mind that you can do wrong as an indie is not being aware of your shortcomings. Like it's really easy to say, well, this is what I'm good at. And it's really hard to say this is what I or my team is not good at. And like, if you have something you're not good at, you need to identify that and then you need to take steps to try to fix it. And chances are, if you're not doing that, it's like slowly killing you. So like, if you're a really strong developer and you suck at like marketing, then like, just making a game and like ignoring the fact that you suck at marketing is not acceptable. Even if you make the best game in the world, it will probably still fail. And like, that's something that I think happens a lot with indies. It happens with us still. I know that like a lot of times it's either hard to identify something that's wrong, or we will identify something that's wrong and then like be way too slow about fixing it. And like, I don't know, it's tough to do.
On the positive side, I think the best way to recognize that you're sucking is to have people over for drinks and have them tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like having someone that you can ask real advice to that will give you honest feedback is invaluable, and you should have that. A good piece of advice that I can give you is try to get mentors if you can. People that have been where you are and have done it and succeeded, or even if they failed, but especially if they've succeeded and is willing, they like you and they're willing to give you advice, that's really useful because then you can ask them stuff. We're probably over on time.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.